So now, if like when you log in, you probably go to show up here as well, or may have like a name each and every time. Because like Sirius Mind does change it each and every time because he doesn't want to be doxed there, right? It's like he said that like I dox him.
Oh. Well, I only see choose video filter or virtual background. Video, audio. Actually, the picture I have for my Discord is the one I want to use. One with me and my daughter and my granddaughter.
Oh, if we're live, then. But I don't think like the audience can like hear us because I think like the music is playing first. Or we are live, and my John Brockman hasn't told us that we are live.
I don't know. I don't think we're live.
No, I know we are.
I got kicked out of your.
So now, nope, we are live. You have to mute the stream now, Kirok.
Yes, we are live. Sorry about that.
John Brockman, is your microphone working? I can't hear you. As audience members, can you hear us? Yep, no, the audience can't hear John Brockman. But the audience can hear me because, like, the mic is fucked. Okay. It's not unusual for, like, any kind of live stream to have technical difficulties. It's a good thing that we're working this out now. Because, like, John Brockman, if you were, like, talking I also in like on the ball in like getting this like I posted to like all the places. Should also post this to like left to posting. Don't want to post that there. Don't need to post it there. Left this audio. Yes, exactly. Where the audio is left out, Mithril. Exactly. So how are you, Kirok? How are you doing?
I'm doing well.
You guys sound like crap, but apparently
I'm all right.
you can hear me now.
I'm not so tired now because I managed to sleep in. But to give it time, I might be really tired later on. I also have caffeine, so there's that.
I just hired a lady to help me out at the store, and she decided to do a no-call, no-show. Nice. That's my luck.
All right.
So
OBS
this
is
week
picking
I'm going to
Can
be
you guys hear
working
me?
quite a bit of hours.
Seems you guys cannot hear me yet.
And let's see. Hello, like Lucinda, the free casuals. Poop to you as well. Hey, Joe McCullery. Evening, Merfel. And like, hello, Jody Dishes Heretic. How's everyone doing in the live chat? I'm gonna like once John, hey, I'm still sharing like the link around to the various places. One more Facebook group, and also just a few more Discords, and then like we can like start the conversation. And so, well, we can start the conversation right now. Kirok, what do you want to share about yourself that you are fine to share publicly amongst like strangers on the internet?
Well, that's a weird question. No, I mean, I joined Steve's group just basically because I agree with a lot of what he has to say. But I have found myself, well, with you and me, agreeing with certain aspects, such as ACAB and just politics in general.
So it sounds like we don't have much of disagreements, but like on like you find any details as to where. So unfortunately, audience members, this may not be like the tongue lashings I give to a liberal as you all like are coming to like watch as like John Brockman titled the stream as. But we'll see. I still cannot hear John Brockman at all, so he still has like mic issues as well. So sorry, John Brockman, if we're talking over you. You could hear John. Oh, that's fine.
I can't hear John.
I don't know if I can hear John Brockman. The gremlins that got into like John Brockman's audio system and computer.
That stinks.
Yeah.
So let's start with ACAB.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm not blind to the fact that there are a lot of bad cops in the world. I am not blind to that. In fact, my last conversation in another channel was how I disagree with our system in general. Like the judge, the juries, the prosecution, the defense. Oftentimes, many people get wrongfully convicted, and many people who are guilty get released. I'm not a big fan of this.
Okay.
I don't blame the individual.
Okay.
That's where I was coming from.
Oh, okay. So it's just like, well, that's the thing about the ACAB and like the anarchist's positions on the ACAB and various things like that is that like we believe it is a system, as we said many times on the show. Doug Smith can be a great and wonderful person. Hi, Contact French. We're having technical difficulties. If John Brockman is like speaking and you guys can hear in the audience hear John Brockman, that's great because I can't hear John Brockman. He's working out the like audio issues. His microphone is fucked. Another fun way. But like in context secretary on with Kirok, supposedly a liberal that I'm gonna do a tongue lashing to. So we'll see how that goes. But like it's and we're talking about ACAB, or why it said like because Kirok doesn't blame the individuals for like bad apples and systems, or it's more like a system, and doesn't understand that like the system is flawed in many ways, as like guilty people are let off and like innocent people are going to jail, blah blah blah. It's always been our position that like it's often been our position, and it's always been our position on this show that is the system and not the individuals. Doug Smith can be a great and wonderful person. Officer Smith cannot be a great and wonderful person. His position of being a police officer prevents him from doing that. Joe McCoy said, ACAB is not great because like it's not an individual problem, but cops are on the other side of class wars. It is good to assume that every cop is not there to help you, but instead to harm you. Yeah, exactly. And that's why the IWW, the one big union, the Wobblies, they make exceptions for their okay. So apparently, Controversy was able to hear a little bit from John Brockman, but I wasn't able to. Oh, fun.
So here's where I may disagree a little bit. We do have real criminals.
Okay. Well,
in this world, period.
All right.
Oh, your heinous crimes, and you know what kind of criminal activity I'm talking about.
No, I don't. I'm just assuming the serial murderers.
The murderers, the pedophiles, the rapists, the people that break into people's homes and torture people.
And how often that's
the violent crimes committed by people without some sort of policing who is available to interfere with that. Who's to stop those people? And you have criminal activity.
And John Brockman said in our like Zoom and chat as we're talk about people that like break into our homes and torture us. So cops, People that rape us, cops. The people who do violent crimes against us, cops. Because like, yeah, cops has been like known to do that,
All right.
and
You all
because
hear me
they
now?
are cops that meant to uphold the law, and there's at least last I know, there's no laws the
Can you guys
detail.
hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you now.
I
All
can
right.
hear
So
you.
the computer is able to hear my headset, but not my good microphone.
Oh, fun.
I
And
guess
that's
my mic died. I don't know. But I probably sound like shit to you guys right now.
yeah, you
Oh,
do.
you sound just fine.
Well, compared to his good microphone, it does sound like he's speaking into like he's like the microphone from across the room, or speaking into a tin can as terms of quality comparison to his good microphone or my microphone.
Contact wrench. Policing doesn't prevent crime. I agree, but it does slow it down. In my
I don't.
Well, I mean, if policing were intended to prevent crime, maybe it would slow it down. But policing is intended to support white supremacy and capitalism. Cops
Yes.
are there to protect the rich, not us.
Yes. That's the thing, and you're right. I think that's the divide. You say that, but there are criminals, as it were, and I'm just like, okay, so if like Ted Bundy exists, like Gary Ridgway does exist, 0.1% of the population, and then there's also like, yeah, he does sound like he's talking into a potato. Yes, um, but and also yeah, but like kind of like I do not. I guess that's one thing. Is that if there are criminals there, people who just do violent crimes like breaking and entering and torture you and something like that. Yeah, I can believe that those exist, but I do not want an armed thug force that is who's only trained to like react to situations with violence to prevent that sort of thing, and especially since like
They were brought in to
those
catch slaves.
yes, or like shut down strikes, or just prevent like workers like uprisings, as it were. Maintain order.
In the South, they were brought in as slave catchers. Up north, they were brought in to beat up immigrants.
so curious, if I may ask, what is your guys' thoughts on the military, regardless of what country?
Not a fan.
Not a fan either. Is it now? Not saying that like in the utopian society that like anarchism has no protection whatsoever. We will create militias as if protection needed. The Spanish anarchists did that because they were fighting little Nazis, no,
God
little
damn it,
fascists. Military police is the military police, but for the world. Exactly. So the cops never like slow down crime, control bigger weapons, and don't stop violence, as it were, too. Yeah, and that's the thing also about like why we are anarchists as well, because like we are against the state. What's the state? Is the institution that has a monopoly on sanctioned violence, and who now performs those sanctioned violence? The police domestically and the military internationally. Especially why, and especially let's ask this question: why the hell do we need a standing army? It's
50 nifty United States with all their imperial colonies.
Oh my God, how many of them?
United States, though, every government or every country has their own form of militia.
Yeah, it's almost like nations are bad.
Yes, that's our stance. Especially when like the institutions or like other countries try to impose those kind of like nation states and things in places where they never really had it and never really need it. When like the Western European powers like the U.S. and like Europe and like other places gone into the Middle East to imperialize it, honestly, they literally draw lines in the sand. That's why Iraq has like 3 different like factions of people: the Sunnis, the Shiites, and the Kurds. And yet the Kurds are not just in Iraq; they're in many places because they were in that section, and many different countries who claim ownership of this country or that country or this country, they drew lines literally in the sand. And so, and exactly, that's important like thing. Hello, the Jordan Term P. Militia and military are not the same thing or universally good. Exactly. Which is why, again, it's just like we as anarchists, we would only like start like training ourselves for militias voluntarily, though, of course, ours in for the need, which goes back to like communism according to need. And again, to like ask the question about like standing armies of like nations, as were why do they have standing armies? You can argue that like, well, since USA has standing army, oh, the enemies have to have standing armies too.
And that is one of the categories of bullshit jobs identified by David Graeber.
Exactly.
It's a job that shouldn't exist, but it has to exist because other people have it.
Mm-hmm.
Like advertising.
Yes, marketing, as it were. Every company has a marketing department because like it's arms race, as it were. That's probably why a lot of countries have like nuclear powers, and why some countries want to stop others from having nuclear power is also for to like depower those people while empowering like others. That's the whole reason that Israel exists. It's not to give Jewish people the homelands as like we've been sold to, and some of the Jewish people wanted, as it were. Or it's so that like, and Biden said this explicitly too on the Senate floor, or to have a foothold in like the Middle East, so that like in case there's a conflict there, in case there's like oil companies or oil countries that want to say like we have the rights to our own oil or own resources, as we can just go in there to those like communist or socialist like leaders, some of which are actually terrible people, probably should like dispose this or that, but at least like, oh, I forgot the guy's name, as it were, Erdogan. No, like Erdogan's the person that's like
Erdogan is definitely not a socialist in any way, shape, or form.
Right. But there was
You
like
might be
this
thinking
one.
of Mao or Deng.
No, the guy from like Libya, something like that. Not Duterte, because I think that's the one that's the dictator from like the Philippines. He was the one that was like it was the people that dethroned him, and like in the like middle of the street or something like that. I think it's Lebanon. That was the country. I forgot. Anyway, it's like he was like an early Behind the Bastards episode, as it were. But like, let's see. And Lucidia said, if people can get the things they need, then their stress levels will be lower. Solutions to conflict other than violence and dehumanizing will be available. Yep. The condition society deliberately pushes us to dehumanize and commit violences against each other. Okay, yeah, the cat pulled out the cable. Yeah, no wonder. It's like, and Joe McCory said, like, and there could be like some calls for investigators to find murders and serial assaulters, but the police, as they are better at doing those things and then stopping others from like doing them. I mean, aren't better. Yeah, the tech support. You have the cat. Yes. And that's the thing. Honestly, for like violent offenses, cops are terrible at arresting people. So not even like about like they're not there to prevent the violent offenses, but even like arresting people who commit violent offenses, they're terrible at doing that.
If you get robbed or someone steals your car, you report it, the cops write it down, and then they do nothing.
Yeah, in fact, like
it's like the Big Lebowski. They'll just fucking laugh at you.
Yeah, and like I don't know if it was like Robert Evans or his like guest propaganda prop the hip hop artist that like told the story that like I think his car was in front of the police station in San Francisco, in front of the police station, and someone broke in and took out stole his backpack and took his things, as were. And so he went inside the police station where in front of it happened. Hey, someone just like nicked my bag out of the back of my car. So like, and the police said to him, what do you think us to do about it? And two.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Kira.
Go ahead.
My question is, if you eliminate policing, who's going to take care of the violent offenders?
No one takes care of the violent offenders now. The fact is, if we got rid of the cops, I think we could have a different organization with a different approach, different principles, that wasn't full of white supremacists or violence. That was dedicated to problem solving and to helping people who are in distress.
Yeah,
but this would be part of, I would hope, a broad program of restructuring absolutely everything so that the majority of people aren't scared most of the time.
Yes.
Aren't full of emotional distress most of the time.
Yes.
That wouldn't remove all of the violence and problems we have. People would still have interpersonal conflicts, but it would remove a big drive toward pain.
Mm-hmm.
Like, looking at all the racist riots we've had in the U.S. every couple of years, from forever to Charlottesville and January 6th.
Yeah.
What you see is that the driver is often, not always, but often an economic downturn.
Mm-hmm.
Then people get scared, they see their children going hungry, and they lash out at their fellow victims instead of the people who are responsible.
Mm-hmm.
I think if we had a massive change like that, we could avoid the need for armed thugs wandering the streets.
Yeah.
No, race riots, they're not unjustified, though. I mean,
their victim, who they target is unjustified. I want to stress that. And like I said, I understand the drive behind it. Like I said, if people get hungry, they get scared. And they lash out.
Yeah.
So I don't want to say they're justified, but they are understandable is how I would put it.
Yeah, right. I mean, the Ultra Trekkie viewer of like Siege Shies. I haven't seen the Ultra Trekkie in a while though, but we used to go back and forth like about the cops as we're all the time. And I think for the Ultra Trekkie, it's personal because his father or his uncle or a family member is a cop, and so he probably views it that like, but there are criminals and there are people that like, and that's the thing. I just don't personally believe. If there are criminals, they're like a very small minority. For the majority of the crime that's happening now is often out of like desperation.
Deal with them.
Why are you afraid of them?
I'm not afraid of them. You still have to deal with them.
With criminals, you mean?
I'm talking about your pedophiles, your rapists, your murderers. They exist. And you get rid of them. It's a mental disease in their head, but it exists. Jeffrey Dahmer, Ed Gein, or whatever his name was.
Since you said that it's like a mental disease.
I mean, the thing is, though, those guys are so fucking rare.
Yeah.
I don't think... I mean, like sociopaths, anti-personality disorder, or antisocial personality disorder, it's just a fraction of a % of the population. And even they barely register. I mean, they're overrepresented on Wall Street, but even they don't mostly turn into violent criminals. They're just assholes.
People with no empathy, yeah. Religious no empathy.
So,
but they exist.
They do. And we have to be prepared for them. But there's a guy out there, a psychiatrist, psychologist or something, who is like borderline antisocial personality disorder. And once he realized that, he made a point to start being kinder to the people around him. His wife was like, "What the hell's going on?" He had a wife. He had a children. He had a family. Even though he was not a great guy, generally speaking. He was still able to build this structure around him, still able to learn and grow. And I don't think we need to respond to everything with violence, yeah. We don't need cops. I think we could have doctors, nurses wandering the streets instead, and we would all be better off.
Yes. Now, like I kind of noticed. So eugenics, now that was fast. Yeah, exactly. Seeming that like criminals have to be taken care of, as it were. But like, so Kira, if you need the sense of security and safety,
don't you don't need to be extreme like that about it, Geek. It's
sorry. But like, okay, if we somehow in community, and that's another thing to think about it, then I'm terrible at this as myself. I don't know my neighbors. I don't talk to them as much. And it's like I kind of hear the kids outside, like being like boisterous interest, as it were, too, as it bothers me. But like in the community, if we found out like someone did something terrible, unspeakable, as like pedophilia or rape and something like that, freedom of association, we dissociate with that person. And if like it is determined that that person needs to be like put aside, as it were, or like kept somewhere for protection of others, as it were, then yes, a kind of like prison or a jail or a holding facility would be like set up. But it doesn't have to be like terrible or like sustained or like just like awful. It can be like nice. I don't mind. That person will still like I see it that person will still be like offered like have the basic needs and necessities, something like that, of yeah, shelter, food, and water, and something like that. That because that's provided to like everyone, and it should be. They probably just won't have luxuries, and they probably won't have like friends because like why be friends with like that person, as it were. And so,
I would hope that once we are able to recognize people who don't respond well to normal situations, maybe we can provide them with support.
Yes.
I mean, Ed Gein, his life was a fucking tragedy. He wasn't really a monster so much as a guy with a terrible mother.
I don't know. I'm looking at some of the comments on the side. It isn't just about sexual.
I mean, you're pointing out some of the worst crimes people can commit against.
Yeah. I'm talking about the murderers and stuff. Watch any Unsolved Mysteries, Most Wanted, any of these shows. Day to day, they show you lists of people that they're trying to hunt.
But they're showing you like a fraction of a percent of the population. They're deliberately fear mongering by selecting the absolute worst, the far extremes.
It's entertainment, honestly. Remember that, Kirok. It's propaganda too.
Yeah,
but they're there.
They are, but how much of that is our fault as a community, living in the world we do? If we were better, how much fewer of them would there be?
I guess I'm confused. How's that our fault?
Like Ed Gein, like his community failed him. His mother abused him throughout his childhood, rendered him a dependent adult, and when she died, I mean, his mother was the prototype for Norman Bates with his mother in the attic, the body, and Ed Gein only had the one victim, and yet he became the prototype for Norman Bates and the Texas Chainsaw Massacres because he also dug up graves and covered lamps with bones and human skin and stuff. Like, we turn these exceptional cases who aren't actually all that terrible, aren't actually monsters. We turn them into monsters in the public imagination.
I think you're right. I think this is another disconnect. You see like criminals as others. I see criminals as just my comrades. Some which need help. Some which need help from society. That's why the drug users are like the gangs. I don't see them as any different than me. If they're drug users, they're fortunately suffering from substance abuse, and I will be wanting to know what led them to that. Again, the Kirok with no, not Kirok. The ultras are gonna say, "Oh, what if someone like broke into your home and demanded to like, hey, your money or like food or for example, because like a capitalists and like would say to communists, well, what if someone just like breaks into your home and I demand to use your kitchen since it's like common like goods, as it were." I would actually ask,
are you hungry?
Yes.
I have food. What's wrong?
Yes.
How can I help you? I mean, obviously, I would have trouble actually doing that in the moment. But
true, same here.
That's how I would want to respond.
Mm-hmm.
If someone is committing a crime, why? What's gone wrong? How can I help them? Rather than how can I punish them?
George R.B. also bring up a good point about like mental health issues are self-harming as opposed to like harming others, and yeah, that which is again why in response to like a conflict and situation, and this is something that can be implemented now. if politicians and city councils have the political will to do so, it's have the emergency response force, but it'd be like social workers, mental health professionals, doctors and nurses, as it were, because then just like how everyone's happy when to see the ambulance or the firefighters, as it were, especially if we hear the emergency lights or see them, as it were. Okay, we're knowing that like those are people are going to help others out of a dangerous situation or a life-threatening situation.
But we're afraid when we see cops.
Yes, yes, Phoenix. Yes, I even go. Oh my God, the title.
Now I want to add that there I think is an emotional moral depth to this that leads us to want to have cops. David Graeber, Debt, 5,000 Years. We started not with barter. Fuck Adam Smith. We didn't start with barter. We started with a moral system of debt and credit. You ask someone for something and they're willing to give it to you. You negotiate that, and then you owe them a debt. You have to pay them back. It's like, I want a nice new bow. You're good at making bows. Please give me this bow so I can go hunting. And then the debt piles up, and I owe it the burden. The community judges me, and I pay it back. There's a moral, emotional response to this, and I think there's a flip side to that, where it's not just you gave me a positive thing, I owe you a positive thing. But you did a negative thing, I owe you a negative thing.
Yeah,
I think we may be hardwired emotionally and morally for revenge. And that's why we want cops. We want people to be punished and hurt. And I think that is something we, as a society, as a community, should not do because it doesn't work in the modern world. That might have been a necessary thing 500,000 years ago when we were living in small bands. But today, in communities of millions of people, we can't afford that response.
I can't honestly disagree with John Brockman on that one. In a lot of ways, when you hear about the criminal getting locked up or the cop doing their job, you do feel a sense of satisfaction.
It's behind revenge porn, not the where people hurt people. I'm talking about the revenge movies, especially where a woman gets raped and then she kills her rapists, and people have found that very satisfying for decades now.
I mean, hell, CSI. The reason why
John Wick. We love our violence porn when someone goes on a revenge spree, when they are morally perfectly justified. And I think. Go ahead.
I think I did not notice this kind of thing until I kind of was made aware of it. Like Karl Rove knows that the base for George W. Bush watches a lot of CSI too. But it's only when you think about it, oh wait, that makes sense. Because the reason why this woman just took a tire iron to this guy's head, the guy said you think this is about finding your soulmate? To us guys, it's about sex, and that was enough for that woman to kill that man and that sort of thing. There was a lot of the people who were wronged or did the wrong thing, like cheating as it were, got punished because they died or they were the victim of the crime too. So in the perverse way, some people will take pleasure of that victim of that violent crime, that was a victim that got what they deserve, their just punishment as it were. And that can also be perverted in another way, where it's just we talk about the fundamentalist Christians that say these natural disasters are terrible tragedies are a result because of our degeneracy in society for allowing gay people to exist and that sort of thing.
I don't know. I mean, if I were a juror on a rapist case where the rapist killed her assailant, I would set her free. However, if it was a matter of cheating, I'd find them guilty.
Yet the reverse tends to happen. I forgot the name of her, but she was a woman that was forced into prostitution by her pimp and was sexually assaulted for many years. I think she actually killed that person as work, or at least assaulted him. But she gets 16 years in jail, and it's MP. Yeah, the first time in a long time walking in. Yes, apparently I'm going to give a tongue lashing, not the fun sexual way to like our liberal Kirok here as well. But we are on discussions of like if we need police or like why we need police.
We may be talking about Sarah Cruzan.
Yeah.
Who killed her pimp in 1994 when she was a teenager.
Mm-hmm.
Who was eventually pardoned last year by California Governor Gavin Newsom. So she spent nearly 30 years in prison for killing her pimp.
He shouldn't have had to serve 1 day. You're talking a teenager being
a child being trafficked into sexual slavery. Yeah.
Yes.
And I mean,
got what was coming to him.
And that's the thing I think we should avoid is the emotional satisfaction about getting what he was coming to.
Yeah.
We should instead focus on sympathy and healing for her in so much as that's possible. It's a big principle of law to try and make people whole after they've been wronged. And especially in tort law, civil conflicts between businesses is trying to make people whole. And a lot of that is about healing people, which is funny, something only we're willing to consider in the business context rather than the social context.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's right. MP, you're in Southern California, and they're having the warnings about the tropical storm Hillary right now. So like, yeah, you found that in the symbol on your keyboard, Jumpy? Do I have that symbol upside down question mark? But anyway,
if you have an international keyboard, it's left Alt and then regular question mark. Or maybe it's right Alt. There it is. It's right Alt. There we go. I with studying languages have all the symbols.
I mean, having those international keyboards can be helpful for like those like I want to say umlaut, but I don't think that those accents above like certain values. In, like,
umlaut
Spanish.
is one of those symbols, but there are various diacritical marks. Yes.
Right. Okay. Diacritical markers. Yeah. So like is. Broadening that my option shift. I see. Okay. So maybe that's what.
You have a Mac. Oh, fuck you, goddamn hipster piece of shit.
Listen, my problem with MacBooks is that like a lot the proprietary software and how many like programs are not like compatible with Mac, and you can blame Microsoft for that as well. But also of how freaking expensive that they are too.
No, they're too fucking curvy. Real computers have corners.
Trying to answer the question about like the criminals or how to deal with the criminals. I don't, and Linpy uses Linux as well.
No, get the fuck out of here.
My only problem is that like the number of
I like Star Trek. I like Star Wars. Red Dwarf. Fuck you.
I love Star Trek.
I love Red Dwarf. It's funny. And Star Trek is just okay. Star Wars is just okay. No. Yeah, Lord of the Rings is also just okay. And Kirok, if you're not interested in fantasy, it's okay if you
Discworld for the win.
I've seen the Lord of the Rings. I know I'm behind the times. But Star Trek is my forte. I love Star Trek.
No wonder you're a fan of Steve.
Yeah. That's probably how you found Steve too, as well. Let's see. Exactly. Civil remedies can be like for everything. Rapists would like do more or to help a victim by paying for health care and the time lost in productivity than like going to prison too.
And like, consider this: why did people own slaves? They didn't do it out of the evilness of their hearts. They did it because it was profitable.
Yes.
If we remove... What's that, Kira?
I said that was evil.
It absolutely was evil, but they were pushed to it. They were encouraged to it by the world they lived in. They made a lot of money. The reason the South had an absolutely pitiful system of infrastructure and industry is because everybody invested in slaves instead of mining or railroads or anything. I mean, the South was basically a third world country. It had a railroad network equivalent to fucking Lithuania.
And it still have those problems like now because like the highest numbers of like ringworm in like a developed countries is where like,
because we still have slavery.
There's also that, but also like in counties in Alabama do not have running water because the counties either don't have the resources or they just don't care because of like who's in those counties.
It wasn't because they were naturally evil. It's because there were things encouraging them to do this. And that fed on, and that changed the way they operated, and that changed their opinions, their emotions, their values, and they came to become more and more hideously, monstrously racist because of the world they lived in. Because they had to justify their slavery to themselves in order to think of themselves as good people.
We know examples of many people can like rationalize themselves to commit evil even because they don't think of it as evil or they're just doing their jobs.
Which brings me back to men who are rapists who don't realize they're rapists and would be horrified to think of themselves as rapists.
Look what she was wearing. She was drunk at the party. What does she expect?
Because they think that they're owed sex, and they think of women, they don't realize it, but they think of women as lesser people. And they do horrible things to the people around them without ever realizing
it. That's kind of like goes along with that drive of like that's one of the things like they don't see themselves as like a bad people as it were or is okay. That's okay. You're back.
No, that's like, fine. I poop all the time. Like the other night while driving Uber, I told a story from my frat guy days to a bunch of frat guys who I had to tell to ditch the open containers before they got in, about a near foursome that happened between three of the guys in the house and a girl who we called Fat Courtney. She was Fat Courtney because she was fat and her name was Courtney, and there were other girls named Courtney that we knew. But
you have to just which Courtney you're talking about.
No, I was thinking about the slavery thing for a second. If I could go back to that,
go ahead.
I can hear you guys in the restroom, but
yeah, same as John Brockman. John Brockman can hear us when he poops too. But go ahead.
I try to make it so you can't hear me pooping.
We have AI today. Alexia. There's even a Sophia the robot.
And ChatGPT.
Sorry to those Alexa users who just heard Alexas and they're all
Isn't that going to be a form of slavery down the line?
It could be. That is a question. I mean, like, Star Wars has a huge problem with its droids.
Oh, yes. It still does.
As we proceed, we might end up in a Matrix situation where we're in that weird gray area where we have to decide, are these creations, are our children alive and aware enough that they deserve this independence?
Mm-hmm.
It's scary.
It's kind of scary. And now, just to like to take it to like automations, as it were, I would automation is not a bad thing in of itself. It's bad on their capitalism, as it were. Keynes, who came up with Keynes Sets and Notes, I forgot his like a name. I always want to say James Maynard Keenan, but that's the lead singer of like a Tool, who's a rapist himself.
It's James Maynard Keynes, yes.
James Maynard Keynes. It's a similar name, so it's just like I wanted to make sure that it's like I'm talking about the economist. Anyway, he predicted like in 1930 that by like 50 years from now, 1980s, that we would like have a 15-hour work week, that all the jobs will be automated way. And David Graeber talked about this in Bullshit Jobs, and the research is like, no. A lot of those jobs that we had in the 1930s were automated away. And then again, that it's a good thing. Jedi, I think I will like defer to pop culture detectives like a video essay on the case against the Jedi Order, because especially how we have seen it depicted in movies, it's just like, yeah, I wanted a lightsaber too. I wanted to like be like Luke Skywalker. Well, I can't be when I play Fortnite, but it's just like. It's like how they actually work. They kind of like kidnap children at a very young age, so to be like enslaved in the Jedi Order for like ever with like almost no agency whatsoever. And I haven't seen that. There are some shows I like should go back to watching, like Clone Wars.
Clone Wars is amazing.
Rebels
is amazing. Resistance is pretty good. It's been a while since I watched that one. I'm rewatching a lot of Star Wars now, so expect a lot of Star Wars references.
I need to finish Clone Wars. Sad confession.
Last season, season 7, when it got that reboot. Oh, fucking amazing.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, the Jedi seen pretty often in the KOTOR games. I haven't liked the KOTOR games.
I mean, the thing is, though, the Jedi, well, they're space Taoists.
Yeah,
we all know this. This is not the space Taoists with a sprinkling of Zen Buddhism, which, I mean, duh. Taoism is the tofu of religions. It absorbs whatever it comes in contact with. But the Taoism is a very conservative religion. Mm-hmm. You're supposed to follow the will of heaven. You're supposed to find your place. It is very much the mandate of heaven. Follow the rulers. Stay in line. Your destiny is to know your place, peasant. Mm-hmm. That is what Taoism really boils down to, which is why it doesn't really mesh with the whole rebellion thing, and why the Jedi fall so easily into those hierarchical, authoritarian, supporting bad institution stereotypes in the rest of the universe. Lucas was a little bit woke. He tried. I mean, the rebellion was styled after Vietnam, and the Empire after the U.S., and then this Civil War in the prequels between the U.S. and the Republic and the Separatists. I mean, that's the Republic versus the Confederates, and then it dissolves into the fascist empire, just as actually happened in U.S. history, though I don't know if Lucas knew that.
Based off of the 1945 Hitler War, World War II.
Yeah. Oh no. I mean, the Republic versus the Separatists was the Civil War, with two slave armies.
Yeah.
The rebellion was the U.S. versus Vietnam. He tried to be. I mean, he obviously, thanks to loving those old high adventure serials, put a shit ton of racism into his books, and misogyny and homophobia, given that there are no queer folks in Star Wars, or at least not in the main media. He tried. He for 1975, he was a decent ally, I guess, maybe. He went great.
He then became like a businessman now.
Oh yeah. The sort of guy who can sell something for $4 billion. But the spin-offs, Clone Wars is some really amazing media, especially the last season. Bad Batch is pretty awesome. I mean, they still don't have queer folk. But they do use the alien races to explore interracial stuff a little bit, I think. Not much. They don't. Star Wars doesn't do romance.
Yeah.
I mean, oh God, the Han Leia romance. Shit.
Well, Random Geek and John, if you want a nightmare, there's always the holiday Christmas special.
I'm aware that exists. There's still some silver lining of a good thing in that, like, it shows that B. Arthur is a wonderful entertainer, and she is like a treasure that we all unfortunately have, like, we're deprived of not knowing her existence, or like having her continue existence.
And Mark Hamill has a brother.
Mark Hamill almost looked like a Ken Barbie doll in that, like, special too. Well,
Barbie. fucking Barbie has gone so well. I don't know, Kirak, if you're aware of how the far right has lost its fucking shit.
Over Barbie. It was never meant for them as well. But again, it's just like with Ben Shapiro, who's making content and we're that he of course wants to know something that he will upset him and upset his audience members, so he'll purposely go to something not meant for him and be upset at the feminist propaganda of Barbie, which actually I do have a comrade on Facebook that's not into the Barbie sort of thing and think it's just can we stop pretending that one movie is saving all of a feminism so we're doing great work in feminism, and maybe they just didn't like the Barbie movie as much as were, which is fine. I know some friends that really enjoy the Barbie movie though as well, and again it's there's enough positive in my mind that the Barbie movie upsets Ben Shapiro again, because of course it would. But where was I going? That's right. The holiday special does the most important thing, which introduces Boba Fett, which is why it's still canon. Yes, exactly.
I'll remind everybody how he died in Jedi.
This apparently I've been told he didn't die, but then again, no, wait, that was
Boba Fett didn't die. He survived the Sarlacc pit. That was always canon. Everyone loved Boba Fett so fucking much. Even 30 fucking years ago, they had him in books escaping the Sarlacc pit, and the new TV show showed him escaping the Sarlacc pit.
Okay, so still canon now, even though it was Disney brought that out of the legends as well. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Disney is free to adopt from legends or not, and sometimes they do, like with Admiral Thrawn, and sometimes they don't. They haven't brought back Mara Jade.
Even though Sarlacc burped after he digested him.
Now, burping is not part of digestion. That's just because you swallow air when you eat.
Okay, I still contend that when you think about that, I forgot to which of them this is. It was that come up with this topic as it were, the vagina dentata as were men's some men's inefficiencies or fear of the vagina as it were, that they mentioned that it's a vagina with teeth and will jump off their penises as it were too. So there you go. I think George Lucas has some sexual repressions as it were, so he and mentioned a terrible, horrible monster in the dunes of the desert sands to be a giant vagina dentata of Sarlacc pit.
It's like the opposite of the movie Alien.
Yes, exactly.
Where the monster is a giant red penis.
He has that nice beak.
I mean, in the sequel, the sequel
special editions.
Yeah, it's turned into in the Boba Fett series. It's revealed to be basically a sand octopus.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense, honestly. Hey, with the tentacles and all.
Mm-hmm.
So, the vagina dentata with tentacles. I'm trying to remember. Have I seen that in hentai before or not? I have seen vagina monsters in hentai. Yeah, I don't know that for sure.
And monsters with tentacles, and I don't know if I've seen any hentai with beaks.
Not really. No, not that common is worth. But
because they're intended to suck penises, not bite them off.
Yeah, exactly. Now, though the biting off of the penis, I actually did see that in hentai before, and it was from a vagina with teeth, a vagina dentata. Oh, wow! We went into this a very bizarre topic as we were supposed.
We ended up in hentai in a discussion with the Geek. I am surprised. I am shocked. This has never happened before.
On an episode that's titled "I Give a Tongue Lashing to a Liberal."
So, Kirak, is there anything you would like to bring up?
What's that?
Is there anything that you'd like to bring up? Anything you'd like to ask us about? We shouldn't just gang up on you. You should get your licks in.
And I think we covered that pretty well.
About the cops things? Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, are there any questions? I mean, we're both a couple of communists. If you're curious about anything, we could probably go into way too much detail about almost anything.
Me and Jonathan have had a back and forth, and to be honest with you, I talked to a good friend of mine who I never even considered myself this way. He said, "You sound more like a socialist," because I believe on capping off rich people at about, say, $100 million, as opposed to having billionaires in this country.
Yep, just Ventura also is a favorite.
I do believe in some form of capitalism.
Capping off the billionaires, that's actually embedded liberalism. That's a FDR. Not at all communist.
Remember, we're talking about the like people of the USA here, as were. So like, there's some people that believe Biden's a communist, but then also like, I bring up this example all the time. My dad thinks that Sweden is socialist. David Scott actually on the live chat right now to tell us how that's so wrong. But the reason why Sweden is socialist, 60% tax rate. And it's just like, and that's a standard for socialism as it were, 6% tax rate.
And I gotta be honest, Kirok, you are, as a progressive liberal, way further to the left than the Democratic Party.
Yes.
Meaning you are merely right of center. The Democrats are center right, the Republicans are fascists, you are almost one of the good guys.
Maximum wage, maximum total wealth will look really good. Sorry, that's another thing too. Not just like capping off like income as it were, because like unfortunately with like how the taxes work right now, there's taxes is on income as it were, and there's separate brackets as it were, and then like tax rates have like lowered and raised and lowered and raised and lowered and raised and that sort of thing too. But capital gains is always taxed differently too, and the capital gains, stock options as it were, bonds, is something only the rich has too. And Lucidia, votes for even the rich. Nothing should be left behind. Do not waste anything. I love that as word. The butchers knew.
Use everything. Hunt the rich using their bodies. Yes.
Yes. We'll eat like rich food, rich people's nuggets, and it'll be like their assholes and stuff like that.
Drive the rich off a cliff.
In Minecraft, in Fortnite, we should not continue doing this as a terrorist, and this is all.
Obviously, we cannot herd all the rich people in the world into the Midwest and light a fire behind them and herd them off a cliff. Obviously, I wasn't speaking seriously, but we should do
that. Yeah, that's a good point, Latrano. You get 2 points as well. Hello, Lato.
Hey, Julie. Feel free to join us, Julie.
Oh, sorry.
No, jump in.
About worth $40 billion. Warren Buffett also worth about $40 billion. If you cap those guys off at $200 million and use the rest of the resources back into society to pay off Medicare, Medicaid, school finance, different programming, other people could benefit.
Yeah, it's like the fact that they steal all that wealth is a harm to the rest of us. Yes.
Yeah.
200 million is more than enough for any human being to live off of.
100,000 is more than enough for any human being to live off of.
Okay.
Yeah. What we should do is just provide everyone everything they need. We could do that. There's enough food being produced in the world that there shouldn't be starving people, but people starve because we don't care. People are starving in the U.S. because we don't care. Just things should not be such that people can accumulate wealth. Wealth shouldn't be a thing at all.
Agreed.
I don't think we should have taxes. I think we should just have everyone taking care of each other.
From each according to their ability to each according to their need. That's communism.
We produce so much. Everyone could be like working 5 hours a week.
And that's a good point. Like I mentioned, they are not worth. They have an asset value. It's a
they've stolen that money. They are not worth that.
Exactly. Hey. And that's one of the things I wish some people would like understand. And but it's like I can be in favor of like capping mutual aid for all. Yes, exactly, Osma. It's where it's just like, yeah, and so a maximum wage limit and maximum income limit, and that capping on capital gains as well as like property too, like a maximum number of like houses that one can own as well too. But then it's just like, it's not the problems we have, like homelessness, of like hunger, is not a problem of like not as many homes or not enough food being produced. It's a problem of distribution because of the capitalist system. The food is not grown and to be eaten, as it were. The food
is grown to be sold.
It's going to make profits, as it were. When there's a market, as it were, things are produced not for their use value, but for their exchange value. Oh, if your house has been sold, or you're full coals on you've been full coals on your home, be like you're being kicked out, this or something like that, the GDP of your country goes up. That's what people kind of like have to like know this as well. I didn't Pinky call me. Did you meant flag or did you meant fag?
No. I meant the slur. I'm straight as the day is long, but I will join that community all day, all night. I will sit there and be the quiet nerd not getting laid at their weird orgy parties.
Well, it's just like.
But also, that was what leftists were called back in the day.
True, absolutely.
Slur.
Because like anything too that's like seen as the enemy of the right wingers, the fascists, as it were, are all the same thing.
But Pinko actually, in this case, referred to being a communist rather than queer, because
true,
the pink triangle at that time was not yet
right.
Also,
I'm just suggesting making the playing ground a little fairer for everybody else.
Yeah, you're not alone in that. Most people, center right to right of center, think that that's the way things should be. You show them a pie chart of distribution, how the wealth should be distributed, and they think that like the top 10% should have maybe 20%, and it should be a little bit uneven, but not as distorted as it actually is. And I just want to add one more thing. Communist countries like Vietnam and China and the USSR, the people, the poorest, are better off than they are doing better health-wise and stuff-wise than countries at similar levels of industrialization. Communist countries have never been able to go all the way to full, capitalist extremes because they've been cut off, they've been embargoed. So they've never been able to achieve the same levels. China is doing that right now, and that's why the U.S. is so fucking scared and doing its best to surround it and circle it with bases. So because we're gearing up for war with China.
Oh yes, exactly. Another Cold War. That's an interesting question that like Joe has for you, Kirlock.
Why stop there? Yeah. Why limit it to a certain degree of imbalance? Why not go further? I'm not going to push you to answer that, Kirlock. That's a heavy and tough question, and your answer would be wrong.
Well, the C Shives, if I like invite him back on as or wait, which episode is this? Like 245. Maybe have him back on for the 250 episode.
Oh, that would be like nice.
Yes, I'll just have to figure out like when that is, and like if it'd be like a other
5 weeks, mid-September, late September.
Yeah, I think Steve will agree with that if he's not recording podcasts. He does usually record podcasts like Late Seating and like Instant Log on Sundays, and I will just be friendly to Steve guys and not like ask him to jump on the shows on those Sundays to avoid conflict.
So you won't spend the weeks leading up to that bugging him with communist shit?
I have actually stopped doing that, more or less. Maybe some of the other questions here or there or something like that, because I at this point it's just like he knows of my position as were. It's strange to me, but he says he's fine with the few billionaires, which is why I'm just like, why?
I disagree.
Yeah, I agree. I disagree as well. Actually, Pirok, you disagree as well because you mentioned you want to cap it to like 100 million as well. So it's just like,
yeah.
So
do you have
billionaires?
Do you have an explanation for why you'd be okay with 100 millionaires instead of billionaires?
Well, think about it. What's 100 million compared to 40 billion? So
I mean, there is a huge difference there, but I'm thinking about the difference between the 100 million versus the 1,000.
Into funding, and that allows other people to pursue careers, pursue better jobs, small business owners to take advantage, more people to branch out.
But I would counter that we tried that under FDR.
Yeah, we have
and the 100 millionaires bribed Congress to destroy that.
Yeah.
And now we have the situation we're living in now. As long as you allow that any sort of inequality to exist, that is what will eventually happen.
Which is why I'm not in favor of small businesses, because Serious Mind has like explicitly said this. He wants to turn his small business into an enterprise, even though he's one of the few good ones that's a small business owner that is pay his like employees well, that is like providing them benefits and is a good employer. He's one of the good ones. And I forgot to like say this is where that's Serious Mind. You're the exception. You're probably the exception.
Would that be Joe Serious?
Yeah, that would be Joe.
Okay.
Again, I don't want to like give his like real name.
Yeah.
People do know him as Joe because like it said on like Steve Shice like a Patreon hangout too. But just like
that's why I was able to connect from Serious Mind to Joe.
Yeah,
dude from New Jersey. We've talked to him before.
He has said he is from New Jersey. He has said 4 to 5 times to me, "Never talk to me ever again." Yes, we are in the Patreon hangout often enough. And he did block me, but I know why. I blocked him too because
there's a difference between owning an enterprise and owning a small business that would just be beneficial to you.
But I mean, there's how would you be able to differentiate that except by saying coming up with some arbitrary cutoff?
Don't get too greedy.
Again, there's an arbitrary cutoff at some point. It's like, if you eliminate greed as a motivating factor, like what if restaurants were just something people could do because they love making food and they love sharing food with people, instead of
people you have to survive. One restaurant that makes decent money throughout the year and you decide not to expand, what's wrong with that?
Well, because you have to decide not to expand. And you have to fight not to be replaced by chains.
Under our current system right now.
I would love if every restaurant was just owned by some fat grandma or uncle who loved making food and seeing people happy eating their food.
Or like Cisco in Deep Space Nine.
Yeah, exactly.
But instead of something you have to do to survive. So you save up the money, you invest, and maybe you fail, maybe you don't. I would prefer a system where people do something that makes them happy rather than something they have to do to not die.
Yeah.
That's
because right now that's the system we have. So even if like someone creates a small business in this system as it is right now, because you are a small business owner or job provider, you are in a position of power in our current system where it's like you can determine if someone can survive or not, whether or not you give that person a job or not, or able to. And so the
problem with that is okay, Jonathan, you and I both live in the U.S. I don't know where...
I do too. In case you can tell, I live in South Carolina. I'm a good boy.
All states but one is an at-will employment state.
And I think that's terrible because at-will just like makes it easy to like fire people.
There is a disequilibrium in power that allows employers to fuck people over with an eye.
But it also gives you a choice whether or not to work for a certain job.
You always had that choice. The difference is that in 1964, we started making it so that you couldn't just fire people for any reason you wanted to. You had to have a justification. The at-will employment thing is just bosses being allowed to fuck people over. It didn't give any more freedom. You could always quit and walk, well, unless you were black.
Oh, yeah.
You could always quit and walk away from a job. It didn't give any more freedom to the poor. It just gave more power to the employers, the bosses.
It's even my conservative coworker also says that argument, but you have the choice of taking this job or that job, as it were. If I'm coerced into needing a job because I need to pay rent for this apartment, I need to buy food from the grocery store.
That's an excellent point.
What kind of choice is that?
You have to have a job. You don't have to have an employee. Is another way of looking at it. You'll die if you don't have a job. You can limp along with 5 employees instead of 6.
That's a good point, George P. is also a way of union bashing, too.
Yep. Yeah. That was the point. That was the entire intention. That was fucking white supremacist piece of shit. Glad he's dead. His grave is a gender-neutral bathroom. Don't take bathroom advice from a podcast. Ronald Reagan. Fuck him.
Yeah. The Ronald Reagan delivery broke the unions, as it were. So that's how it's we lost a lot of unionization since then, and part of why wages has stagnated since the 70s, as it were.
I understand the idealism about at-will employment, but it ignores the reality on the ground that your boss will always have far more power than you will when it comes to hiring and firing.
Which is why the Me Too movement was a labor movement, because and again,
it was started talking about actresses, about fucking Bill Cosby and
Harvey Weinstein. But but People's Fans Further and Terry Crews came forward of his sexual assault too, because it was another man, but he had power over Terry Crews because of his position in Hollywood.
And also note that Terry Crews is a black man.
Yes, exactly.
That plays a huge role, especially with the hypersexualization of black bodies.
Exactly. And that movie executive metaphorically and figuratively had Terry Crews by the balls. People have needs. Mutualism is still, in my mind, the best way to remove capitalism. People having their needs guaranteed makes it so much easier to unionize and remove their power and balance this role. So Kira, I guess I'm fine with small businesses if somehow people can actually choose to work for you or not work for you. If they don't need your job because it's the only job in the area, because that's a problem. That's the thing. Some people, the only jobs they have in their area are retail jobs. And I know many of my friends that either physically or mentally or because of they're on the spectrum can't handle those retail jobs. It is bad for their physical health. It's bad for their mental health. And I don't blame them for not taking those retail jobs. But if those are the only jobs available, then I guess it's still a choice that they can make of taking that job or not. But then that's a choice of living or dying. And I argue the choice of living or dying is not much of a choice. You always take the choice to live.
There's also the other thing. Everyone is an artist until they need to make rent.
Yes. David Graeber, in his original essay on the phenomenon of those jobs, found one of his old classmates from middle school or high school. He was an indie band.
Okay, no. Context Wrench has a strong objection. Did not start with actresses. I thought it did. I'm mistaken. I thought no. Me Too started with brown and black women, and I don't remember more than that. CW. I'm more than happy to be corrected on that. I'm sorry.
I wasn't trying to interrupt anybody, but
no, go ahead.
Go back to the Bill Cosby thing. The at-will employment isn't designed to protect people like Cosby. What he did, he should have gotten locked up for life. Period.
No. My point there was that there was a power imbalance. Bill Cosby had power and authority, and that's what you have as an employer. The employer always has more information, more knowledge than the employee. The employer knows how much the dozens or hundreds or just twos of employees they have are willing to work for. And they know everything about everyone who's applied. The employee or the prospective employee, the applicant, only knows that they're trying for a job and what this job might pay.
Yeah.
So there's always that imbalance, and that's why. Yeah.
That part of it.
That was the comparison I was trying to make with Bill Cosby, is that he had power in a way that the women he raped did not. And they didn't have knowledge about his predilections because he and the people around him were willing and able to cover that up.
That's right, context switch. I think I remember that, like, the hashtag Me Too was started by, like...
oh, yes, Tarana Burke, that's the name. And now I recall, I think she was a social worker.
Mm-hmm. And there was like comments about social worker from the previously of how to handle like situations to work. And yes, I do recognize that like the problem with the current system of social work is where it has a lot of its like flaws too. I think it's like if it's like given a lot of resources and is well funded as it were, and like people choosing to take that job because they see it's a calling as well and want to help people. And to go there, then that is great. Which is again where mutualism should be beneficial, because then all the people that like want to do that sort of thing, like want to be teachers as well, can do those sort of things and not have to like be in such terrible financial debt in order to pursue those careers.
Social workers and teachers are underpaid because those are jobs that need to be done, and because they're jobs that have positive moral value.
Mm-hmm.
So also, we're expected to be paid in feel goods.
Yep, David Graeber noticed that phenomenon as well, and actually did mathematical correlations between like how important your job is to society, like a nurse or a teacher, and how much in relative to how much you pay, and how little important your job is, and how much you are paid, and that's corporate lawyers is an example as well. And Limpy has a great point. I hate how capitalism incentivizes staying with your abuser as well. This
your employer or your romantic partner.
Yep. Again, why a lot of like domestic disturbances happen. Some of those like interpersonal relationships come down to like money. That was honestly part of the reason my parents got divorced too. My dad has interesting relations with money too, and I agree. Honestly, my mom does as well, but I think like she has more for like a problems of personal responsibility in that sense too, as well. But imagine I'm not that. No,
is your mom neurodivergent? Is what you're saying? Is no.
Yeah, actually, I think my older sibling and I had a conversation that it's like, yeah, I think we're all neurodivergent. Our mom was academically gifted. Okay.
Oh, shit.
but also had difficulty turning in her assignments on time.
Oh, that sounds ADHD.
Yes, yes. Love my mom. Absolutely love my mom, as it were. No, there was sort of that too.
Yeah, teachers, nurses, pilots. Yep. Everyone who provides actual social good. This is something that David Graeber discussed in
bullshit jobs.
Yes, thank you. It was a study that he referenced where the more value you provide to society, the less you get paid, and the more you steal, the more you get paid. So, basically, rich people are all assholes by definition.
Yeah, and the reason why corporate lawyers and other positions or professional sports athletes are like paid so much more, and yet poets, recording artists, like and actors, all starving, and well, the actors and writers are striking right now, is all because the 1% determined that like they don't really need poets, artists, or actors.
And part of that is because in order to be able to do that job, to not kill yourself as soon as you take that job, there has to be this huge reward to overcompensate you for it. Like, I mean, yes, people with antisocial personality disorder are overrepresented on Wall Street.
Yeah.
But still, there is the case that 95% of Wall Street is made up of just dudes. And let's be honest, they're mostly white men. But still, they have to overpay them so that they can accept themselves while doing that job. Teachers, we don't have that job.
Yeah. You're going like to start doing like more community college like chemistry classes. I'm not rich. I have many medical bills. I have like $25,000 worth of credit card debt.
Yeah.
Or at least
no, Kirok, I never thought you were rich. I mean, you're willing to talk to us. You were just some guy. I have no notion of who you are or your personal history. I hope you didn't think I was talking about you specifically. I'm sorry if you
No, not at all. I'm just saying it doesn't apply to me, but
like I said, you're one of the good ones.
I just wish the playing field was more equal to more people, if not everyone.
But in my mind, the only way for the playing field to be like it'd be their maximum amount of equity to everyone for the playing field, it's if we have communism.
Yeah. And I think the idea of a playing field is the problem.
Yeah,
we shouldn't view this as a contest.
Yeah,
as a game where some people win and some people lose.
Yeah, that's what capitalism views it as.
We should view this as a community, as a neighborhood. I mean, the suburbs, are super duper racist, but I mean, I kind of love that ideal of kids being allowed to play in a giant park, where everyone is free to enjoy the neighborhoods, the everything around them.
Absolutely.
But I don't see a system that allows even small businesses or small business owners to exist to be a fair one as well too. Granted, if we have a wealth gap or a wealth cap or a income cap of some kind, sure. But again, we did have that after the New Deal from FDR, which was only for white people. We gotta remember that. But then that was eroded away. Because if you allow capitalism, give any wiggle room to capitalism, where there is a power imbalance of the small business owners or the capitalists having power over the workers,
they'll use that power to gain more power, to gain more power, to gain more power. They'll eventually undermine any limits you put on them.
There are some people who always want to run up to score, and so. And that's why I'm still not in favor of a few billionaires, because a few billionaires is one too many. Honestly, have public housing with a park a front yard sounds great. Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
I mean,
having a giant fucking tower and people living in apartments. I mean, it's an apartment, whatever. But then they can go outside and they can run around in the grass. They can play football or soccer or football, baseball, whatever. You just give kids a ball, they'll fucking make up a game. So long as they have the space to play.
I don't understand. What's the deal with power? I mean, why do you need power? Just be happy.
Yeah.
Your family, enjoy your community, enjoy your friends, and be happy. Live a comfortable life.
Absolutely. Which is why we would like a system that doesn't have power. That doesn't encourage people to seek that.
That's right, Contact Rest is only for white and non-visibly disabled people as well.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's incorrect. No, okay. No, thank you, Contact Rest, for saying it. And then,
thanks for stopping by. Thanks
for
correcting me.
Yes. I mean, all businesses are crafted as also helps the hierarchies fall. Yes, exactly. My problem with small businesses is why not have that small business be a co-op? Because cooperatives, they work now, and that's where it's workplace.
Where everyone who is quote unquote employed actually is part owner of the business.
Yeah, as in some cases,
the closer we come to communism, the better off everyone is.
Yeah. Now, in some circumstances, I can see where it's some kind of impromptu and temporary hierarchy can be good. If I'm on craft fishermen boat, if I chose to take that job, and we're in a life-threatening situation, or like an example in a militia too, we're in a life-threatening situation, we're actually in a battle and something like that, I am going to like probably take orders or advice from the person with more battle experience or the person I trust that like will like keep us alive, that sort of thing too.
It's like you take a new job, you always listen to the person who's been working there for a while. They give you advice, they tell you what to do, and they help you get the job done. You don't need a boss, you just need a friend.
Yeah, who did I apprentice and like a master, that sort of thing too. But then again, as well, is that like but like also like that master doesn't have supreme power over the apprentice, because like that master can't go to like the house like give me your food or anything like that. Which and that's where it's just like is like temporary at the workplace, sure, but then or like on a hunting party, sure, but then when we're just like foragers and gatherers, as we're, well, why do I need to listen to you about like these kind of things? You can tell me if these berries are bad in your opinion, and I'll eat them, and you can like have those berries as it were too. But it's just like, why do I have to listen to you? Which is be my question, as were. Why do I have to listen to the person? Why do I have to listen to like this like representative? Why do I have to listen to this cop? I have to listen to the cop.
Wouldn't it be awesome if we could never ever again listen to Ted Cruz?
Yeah. So yeah, we can definitely have like a better system than we have now. But like I say what you will about like me wanting to shoot for the moon or anything like that, but just like having society where there's no one at all ever like begging for like food or for like housing or for like money for like medications. Yeah, that's what I want. But if there's any, in my mind, I'm convinced that like it's any form of capitalism that will take hold. Oh, then like there will be that inequality of like poverty, because capitalism requires that poverty to be run.
Hey, Jonathan, let me ask you a quick question, if you don't mind.
Sure.
What about if you owned a business where you're your only employee, just you?
Mm-hmm.
You work 10 hours a day, you're profiting about $90,000 a year.
Okay.
Are you against that? You own your own business.
That's not a business. That's just him doing shit.
Yeah.
He's not an employee or a boss in that case. He's just doing something that people value.
Self-employed.
Yes, but you own that business and you're just self-employed. There are many people that do that. What's your thought on that?
If you consider that the small business, and that will be the only ethical form of small business I'll be in favor, where everyone just works for themselves.
Because I mean, that's not a McDonald's. That's not most of the business out there. That's an extreme situation.
No, that's your leisure cab drivers. That's your food drivers. What do you call those people?
The graphic artist.
As an Uber driver, I object to both of those. But I mean, it is a situation that could exist. It's an extreme situation. And if that is something that could exist, it's because people really, really want whatever Jonathan could do.
Be your own mechanic and fix people's cars up in your own shop, or
but let me think. Okay, here's the thing: if I were profiting $9,000 doing whatever I'm doing, though, Twitch streaming as it were, like if I'm somehow able to profit $9,000 as it were, here's what I actually will do. Yeah, I would just like. And maybe you leave aside something for retirement or in something like that, or like pay for a better computer or better equipment or something like, and make sure like I can pay for my rent and my food and something like that. But set aside only what I need to like pay for taxes. After that, it's just like, Phoenix, what do you need? Joanna Roberts, what do you need? Joey, what do you need? Oh, this person is asking money. Here you go. Oh, this person is asking money. Here, I can give you this. Oh, this person is like, I would want to like profit. I don't want to profit. Now, like I am my own employee. So I'm not exploiting anyone else. I'm just exploiting myself and working for myself. But as we currently in the other thing,
is that, like, if there's something that we as a community value at $90,000 a year, then we would have people doing that $90,000 a year's worth, while other people do $30,000 a year type jobs less than that, or more of them do it for less time. There's no particular reason for people to spend their lives working. We could share the work.
Yeah, that's the thing too. And what if I'm a mechanic? Honestly, in my situation, Jonathan, can you check out this engine? Okay, let me see you at this. Oh wait, I think that's the problem. There you go. I would not ask that person that'll be $5. Or if that person is like, what do I owe you? Just like, don't worry about it. Because then that person could be like, hey, Jonathan, there's a potluck we're having. Want to come over? Sure. And that's it. Again, back to like death the first 1,000 years. It was never bother. Adam Smith told us to imagine the world. Honestly, what is most likely to happen, and actually a lot of ancient cultures were, ooh, that's a nice bracelet you have. Oh, you like this bracelet? Here you go.
Have a gift.
You could get away with that by saying, oh, you like this bracelet? Thank you. It was a gift. That's the only way to get around it. But most of the times, if that person is like, that's a nice cow you have, the neighbor, again, assuming it's a neighbor, they know each other for like years probably. Oh, you like that cow? No, that's special for cow. Honestly, just a regular cow. You want it? Yeah, that's a cow. That's where. Never a barter of like 20 chickens for that cow. No,
it's always a request made in a very subtle manner. But imagine you're someone like Robin Williams, an absolute fucking genius at comedy, someone who can produce joy for millions of people with minimal effort on his part. Why the fuck would he still need to get paid more? The reason he's doing it should be because it brings him joy as well. He doesn't need to be a millionaire to be a comic genius. He could just do it because he wants to make people happy and improve their lives.
I would easily, if it weren't for the fact I had to like worry about like paying for rent and paying for food, paying for my own meal expenses, and if I can get over my like fear of like breaking out my comfort zone, I would have moved to LA easily and to be an actor. Or I can do community theater now. The fame's not that important to me. It can't be nice to be recognized on the street sometimes, but the fame's not important to me. I love the craft of acting because I love acting. And I would love to do that because I love to do that, as opposed to like have to do that in order to pay rent.
I mean, there are so many people who would just play guitar or sing or dance or whatever for no other reason than they fucking love it. And people love to see that. But they can't. Because instead they have to sling burgers.
Yep. And also, what if people want to like go to see a concert as or go to see like this community theater event as it were? Some people can't make time for that because they have to work a second job or work overtime.
Oh, fucking beautiful point. Thank you.
If I were free to do what I wanted to do, be a dancer and play my guitar. Yes, exactly. I mean, the success story of like the woman who came up with cats is because like she was not that great of a student in like her elementary school, but then like her parents took her to like a behavior psychologist or child behavior psychologist, but then he decided to like to experiment and have the psychologist and the parents were out of the room, but then play music and then see her just dancing all around. And then the professor said to the parents, your daughter's a dancer. And so then her parents were able to fulfill that by encouraging her to like dance and do that sort of thing. But her parents had the resources to do that. They weren't in poverty.
Like all these fucking geniuses of capitalism, their parents are rich. Bill Gates, his mom, he dropped out of Harvard because he was a fucking legacy, and his mom took his program to a guy she knew from work, the CEO of IBM, because she was on the board of a charity because they were fucking rich. What's his name? Bezos. His parents gave him $250,000 so they could develop Amazon. I mean, all of these people, from Bill Gates to Dylan Ruth, they came from wealth and power.
Some people with like success stories of rag to riches, as it were, they'll say
they never had fucking rags
because they would like, I had to move into my parents. You're lucky that your parents had a house with an extra room for you to move into.
Fucking J.K. Rowling.
Oh, to start your business out of a garage, you're lucky to have a garage to begin with. That's part of the inequality we have right now, is that like there are 6 times as many people as homes as there are homeless people, because houses, like food, are bought and sold on the market for exchange value, not for the use value.
Yep.
Come on, when it comes to Bill Gates, how many of us aren't kicking ourselves that we didn't invest in Windows 95? Excuse me.
How many of us were actually lucky to be able to invest in 3.1?
Luck. Aaron Rabinowitz, philosopher, scholar, podcaster, I fucking love, who has been on this show.
He has been. Where our Tonguelashes
he argues that it's luck all the way down.
Yes, moral luck all the way down.
And we should not punish people for not being lucky in where and how they were born.
It's unfortunate right now that people are unlucky that they will get cancer because it's 102 like men and 103 women, and sometimes it is just because, sorry, you got bad genes. Some people get the genetic like lottery of like they can eat whatever they want, they don't have to exercise, and they have that amazing body, or that they look like a 10 out of 10 like a person as well, or like the body of like a model or a porn star or something like that.
I have the memory. I remember what God forgot, but I ain't Bill Gates.
I've lost a lot of good people to cancer.
Yeah. And then that also goes to like, we don't have like a medical system that's like fair and equitable. And even in like in UK and other places that have some kind of like universal system, as it were.
That used to, in the case of the UK.
Yeah.
We capped off the billionaires and took that money and provided it for medical.
How did the billionaires get that billions, though?
It was down, golden spoon passed down from generation to generation.
Part of it is inherited wealth. You're right about that. I mean, look at Elon Musk and Donald Trump. They inherited their wealth, and they don't deserve it in any sense.
The richest like names in like Italy has been the same richest in the family name since like since the 1,000 years. It turns to that millennia.
It's the aristocracy from generation to generation.
But like, how did they get the wealth to begin with?
It's always theft by bastards.
We are on stolen land too, as well.
Especially the U.S.
See, this is where we agree.
And that's why I say you are a progressive liberal. You have the right instincts, the right desires, the right goals. I just think you have accepted propaganda and don't get where the real problem is.
Inherent wealth and stolen labor, yes. That's theft and violence, yes. I'm the same way, to be lucky to have my parents like house. Otherwise, I would be out in the tropics scoring in a tent. And that's right, Limpy. You also do like help out with like the unhoused folks in your area too. And I give money to that organization too. So I have that like cooperative in Charity Links. I'll get the link now and like share it in case anyone has a few bucks to give as well, just to figure out which one.
And Kirak, I want to stress again, I think you're a good guy.
Thank you.
I just think that your support of capitalism, I think, is wrong. I think you've been fed propaganda your entire goddamn life, and until like a few years ago, I was right there with you. And it's really, really, really hard to overcome a lifetime of indoctrination.
Yeah.
Those of us who have are weird and lucky. And
yes, I agree with that too.
I mean, I know I'm a weird fucking dude. So is Jonathan. Fucking weird.
Yes.
Look at the hat. Look at the hat. Look at that. Look at this hat.
Oh wait! Also, this shirt. I realize I also still have this shirt. I don't need your opinion. I have my own.
Oh, I just appreciate that you guys allowed me to speak my mind.
Oh no, we invite this shit.
Yes,
We're not Fox News. We actually are fair and balanced. we love the talk, and we love that you're willing to come on here.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Oh, it was okay. My microphone was changed back from my Yeti. I fiddled, hit the cord, and I knew that my microphone was disconnected. So maybe for a brief second, it sounded like I was speaking to a tin can because it was my webcam microphone, which sucks and is right over there, in the arm's reach. But anyway, so yeah, we gone a little bit over time than usually. So it took me a while to see capitalism is bad too. I don't. Again, it's just I don't know when I started to see no, capitalism is bad. I said this before. It's probably around the time that I started watching some social justice advocates feminists who were anti-segregators and that sort of thing too, and some of which were actual socialists as well. And I heard their talking points, and that's where
it was the candidacy of Donald Trump. The open white supremacy of that piece of shit.
How the hell is Donald Trump allowed to even run during all this?
Liberalism considers the only crime to be property crimes.
Yes. But also, in the Constitution that we have, there's nothing to prevent an indicted criminal, or a convicted criminal from running for the presidency.
Nothing a rich man can do whatever he wants because money talks.
And this country was founded by rich white men who were all slave owners that stole the land here and built
They weren't all slave owners. Some of them just had wage slaves.
Does the world not realize if he is elected, it will tear this country, this world apart?
They know they don't care.
Yes, that's the thing too, as well. I mean, the
Koch brothers are fucking sociopaths.
You're talking World War III.
Maybe.
Who knows? But the thing is, that's the thing. For some people, war is good business because, the defense industry, they don't call themselves the war industry; they call themselves the defense industry. The Defense Department used to be the War Department, but they kind of realized, oh wait, that's bad branding. We're the Defense Department, that's what we're.
And what's his name? Eisenhower. Originally, the military-industrial complex, the first draft, it was military-industrial academic complex.
Mm-hmm.
Because the universities are part of this shit.
Yep. And it was said before about the universities is that it was meant to keep the class and economic power with white people, as it were. So that it used to be you could just come out of high school and get a job, and a well-paying job, and feed a whole family with that too. Because again, the New Deal was for only white people and non-visible disabled people as well, as context correctly as well. And when said the came that the civil rights happened, as where they demanded equal rights, because if the BJ did not give the civil rights to MLK, Malcolm X and the Black Panthers were right behind them. But they did not get the economic equity too. That's why MLK went more socialist as well.
Ooh, and got killed by the FBI. I would love to hear your story. Ozma said they rebelled against their socialist parents and did not dive into capitalism. I would love to hear that.
Okay, Ozma Dog, I'll DM you. Maybe next week as well. I have no further plans. And yeah.
Or maybe you could just, or if you could write a 500-word essay or something. I don't care how we tell your story. I would love to hear it. That is fucking interesting.
yeah. Ozma Duck, you're interesting as well too. So. Kirok, final thoughts.
Listen. Anything you'd love to say? Just go fucking nuts. Do a diatribe.
I'm still stuck on the fact that he's still running, and it just drives me nuts.
Oh, Trump, yeah. If only someone would bleep the bleep.
John Bruffin, don't do this to terrorism as well. But I think honestly he's running because if he's
if he runs and wins, he will get away with his many crimes.
Yeah. Not doing things next Sunday. Plus,
if he wins, this country is fucked. Excuse my language.
We're already fucked because the Democrats won't do what is fucking necessary to keep the goddamn fascists from winning. The fucking Supreme Court is fucking doing eugenics. I'm upset about the current state of affairs.
Right.
You're not alone. I'm with you.
Yes. We got here because, well, many different things as well.
I'm sorry, I shouldn't have swore on your stream.
Fuck you! Fuck you, you cunt piece of shit, motherfucker, goddamn ass cunt clown!
Fucking hell, it wasn't in the first 15 minutes, so that matters. And we're not monetized on YouTube anyway, and we barely get any traffic.
Yeah, like YouTube is ever going to monetize a couple of communists talking about shit.
But we had to monetize the show just to pay for like the Zoom call, but then like whatever extra money we make on the show, we give to like Phoenix and somewhere. Thank you to our patrons.
How dare you, Mithril, suggesting that he's getting away with a crime because he's rich and white and a man. His white penis has nothing to do with it, you bastard. You bastard.
That's for Osman. We've been doing eugenics for most of this country's history. Exactly. Why do you think the Nazis learned their eugenics program?
There was a woman on Cara Santa Maria's podcast. Cara Santa Maria's podcast had a woman who was talking about a woman in history, like in the early 19th history, like 1820s, 1830s, who did abortions. Mm-hmm. And this woman apparently never had anyone die from either her medical or surgical abortions, which is a fucking surprise. But there was a Presbyterian preacher who stepped up and said, you need to stop doing this because all these Irish Catholics are coming in and they're having babies. Eugenics, before eugenics was even a thing. The U.S. has always been about eugenics.
Yep.
And eugenics has always been about racist eugenicist bullshit. I mean,
what we have done, the tragedies that we've done to indigenous people in this country, it's like founders.
Why did we have a standing military to kill all the Native Americans?
Yep. I wonder if his golf courses near me would fall into the ocean again. No harm from us, honestly.
No, they wouldn't fall into the ocean until after they accepted Jews.
Anyway,
because God hates the Jews. That's the joke. God hates Jews. Everyone hates Jews. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, given the histrionics of immigrants in camps, I don't think it's happening anytime soon. Yeah, exactly. Osman Dark. Yeah.
I must be an idiot because I never understood the hatred towards Jews to begin with.
Oh,
it was all irrational too.
You dude, now yeah.
There's a long history.
Yeah.
And a lot of it comes from Europe.
Sorry.
Yeah, we're 20 minutes over, and oh my God, the hatred of Jews is a thing.
I never understood it. It doesn't make sense to me.
It won't. It just won't. He just accepted that.
They were just always a minority who were present in European communities, and because they were a minority, they were hated, and that's it.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to make sense. No more than misogyny or homophobia makes sense.
Or racism as well, yeah. Or
it's just there's people here. They're not going away. They're different. We hate them.
I think, and the reason why there's so much hatred against Muslims and trans people now is because
trans people and queer people, absolutely.
It's a psychological thing that if that's the new normal, Muslims and trans people and all the other minorities, marginalized people, disabled people, let's not forget about that.
Asma, go fucking nuts. You are welcome to go off the fucking rails next week.
That's my Darcy coming on this. It's just as Alchemy next week. Well, the plan is right here, right now.
If you're willing and able, absolutely.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
We'll give you the microphone, and we'll try to shut up more than we do this
week. Right. Speaking of So Just Alchemy, thanking our patrons, the Fuck Boys, the Kama Sutra Scholar, Stack Noise, Tim, my Taka teacher, Von Rack, Edie, Joe McClory, Marty, and Flora. And
I think you mentioned Flora twice because you're a fuckboy.
Yes, and I am a fuckboy. You give us money. I don't know why you pay for this, honestly. You don't have to. But
no, I get it. We invited Kirak on, and he was a valuable and wise contribution to the
contest. They came for the tongue slashing too. I'm Summary Geek. Summary Geek on like Twitter. Yes, I'm on that hell site. I'm calling it Twitter. I'm not calling it X. But I'm Summary Geek and co-host and a much better site, honestly, because they say fuck turfs and they kicked them off the site. Summary Geek on Tumblr, and I think Tumblr still has porn. I was actually surprised one time. It's just like, oh wait, I should not click and open that while I'm at work or on my work computer. Okay, go to my phone then. Summer Geek on YouTube, even though I haven't posted a video in like months and months and months. When I get around to it, maybe if I stop working 12-hour days, maybe. But Summer Geek on Twitch, and I will be streaming a little later today after I get off the call. Probably more Fortnite because like it's near the end of the Fortnite season, current season as well, and I want to, just for completionist sakes, I don't understand why either. Gonna like complete a lot of quests that I still need to do, and Sundays is my days off, so that's where I'm gonna get a lot of Fortnite sessions. So let's see how much I hate myself and like will yell and scream myself or bite in my head or like punch my thighs or slap the side of my head so as I get frustrated playing that game. That could be in the conversation for a future episode. And John Brockman, you're part of another podcast, aren't you?
Yeah, Dungeons and Debacles, totally different, entirely fun. And thank you for joining us, Kirak. You are welcome back anytime you want to let Jonathan gently lick your taint.
Thank you.
Honestly, this was, I rather like they have that you were asking me so many questions and it's just like, I basically invited you on here because it's easier for me to explain my positions as well.
It's easier for him to go out.
Actually, the funny part is we didn't disagree as much as I thought we were going to.
I mean, like I said, you're a good person. You want good things. We disagree about how we get there.
Yes.
All right. And with that, I am going to go ahead and cut this shit off. Bye-bye, everyone.